How are
Sure.
you? You doing good?
As far as I know, I'm doing well. Hope the same by you. And I appreciate you taking the time, fanning your music for just a few decades now. And it's great to see you back. And the one thing that I don't know is Dave Solo or Flat Earth Radio, are they the same thing or are they entirely different?
They're different. Dave Solo is just basically me. Um, yeah, I'm writing all the songs so far,
Hmm.
but Dave Solo is me with Marty in the studio in Santa Ana. Marty Beal. Sorry, I just put a piece of gum in my mouth. And we're doing everything. And also Dan Chapa, who plays drums on a lot of the songs from um, Michigan.
Hmm. And with the songs that came out under your own name, which was finally compiled for Spotify and digital last year, we hear a song like, for example, Tear Gas in August, but I first heard that probably 2, 3 years before that. So is that the product of just years of songs that you finally figured out into an album?
Um, it's basically the process of taking 3 or 4 years to record
Hmm.
8 to 10 songs. And I think I have 8 or 9 on that record or that digital album there. Uh,
Hmm.
yeah, maybe every 6 months I'd pop out a new one. Takes time to for Marty and I to get together and meet up, and then you do one session. A couple weeks later, you come back and do another one, and it's all about time and spending the money to do it.
Got it. So what's the timeline on doing that versus getting Flat Earth Radio started?
What's the timeline on as far as recording and
Right.
songs recorded?
Well, they're being done at the same time. It's parallel kind of workflow.
Not really. The last song I did under just my name was Miss California. That
Hmm.
by me and my buddy Mark Meckes, who is in our cover band that we play around here in Huntington and Long Beach and Seal Beach. And that was the last thing I decided to do. And I was just gonna hang it up for a while. But I got a message from a guy named another Mark, Mark Dunn, and he's on the East Coast. And he said, "Hey, he saw something that I posted. We had Rusty Riopel. Sorry, I'm bringing up all these names you've never heard of. Rusty played bass on the original 10-inch Men stuff,
Hmm.
and he came to play with us one night when we played a song that was written in 1986 called Flat.
Mm.
And Rusty was the original bassist on that recording. And he came and played bass on the song that night. And I posted the picture of all of us with Rusty playing. And Mark commented on that picture and said, "Hey, man, it's great to see you out there," something like that. And I kind of looked at him, his 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 ID and his post or whatever you call that when you're online, his pictures and all that stuff. And I noticed that he was a guitar player and he'd played some pretty big stages. So I just replied back to him and we kind of started talking to each other.
Wow. Okay. So online, when you talk about social media, generally people look for the negatives, but in your case, it brought along a collaborator.
Yeah, Mark actually went and saw Talk Show October '97, and I met him and talked to him after the gig. We had a meet and greet. I don't remember meeting him, but because we met people that day. But he remembers meeting me, and he mentioned that in that first posting that he sent to me, the first message. "Hey, I met you in '97. You were a real cool guy," and all that stuff. And then I noticed that he was a ripping guitar player, and he asked me if I wanted to do an EP, and I said, "Oh, I don't know, maybe." And then he mentioned that he knew a pretty well-known producer engineer guy named Andrew Coleman, who's got a couple of Grammys under his belt, who would maybe jump in with us and help mix this thing. So that's what we're doing.
And you're able to be, okay, let me back up. When you listen to this music, I don't think with the naked ear you can go, this is recorded remotely. So the sound quality is top notch.
Oh, good, thanks.
So in that case, is it that the instrumental part is done and then you send in your vocals, or is it just bouncing tracks back and forth?
We start FaceTiming. I've got a guitar part. I'll start playing it. show it to him. Then we start putting together the arrangement.
Mm-hmm.
Verse here, little break here, another verse, chorus, and then we get that all together. Then Mark professionally lays it down with his beautiful guitar tones and all of his great equipment that he's got. He's got so many nice guitars and really cool, updated, brand new, state-of-the-art pedals, all the amps you can imagine. And he's got this thing called an aux box, where you can make it sound like you've got your amp turned up to 11 in your room, and with all the feedback sounds and everything, and all the nice harmonics that you can get with that kind of a sound,
Right.
At a very low volume. So that's another piece of the pie that helps with this sound on this recording, is Mark's tones.
I think I was telling you this over text, but when I listen to a song like Alexa, or at least my ears go, this sounds simultaneously digital and lo-fi. So when you're making a song, are these songs not demoed at all? It's just built upon, and that's the final product?
When you say lo-fi, you're not talking analog, are you?
I'm meaning, okay, if we take a band like Guided by Voices, they're using great gear. Do you know how I'm talking about, Guided by Voices?
Oh, sorry.
Uh, long story short, they sound like 60s Who, yet it's not recorded in the 60s. It's recorded in the 90s, 2000s, and forward. So they're using top gear, but it's meant not to sound like sonic perfection. It's meant to sound
rock,
imperfect and rock. So when I listen to what the guitar tone sounds like with acoustic guitar, where it's not just purely left channel or right channel, it's somewhere in between, it's got effects on it, and it sounds out front, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I definitely think that on Alexa, Drew wanted it to sound gritty and gangster. I think that was his adjective. And part of that, for at least that song, is because of Drew throwing up, the mids and the lows a little higher than they might normally be. And instead of maybe a full-on bass guitar, he's hitting some keyboard keys on a real low humming keyboard sound, almost industrial sounding. I think he throws that kind of stuff in there and gives it that kind of a twist.
So how many songs from Flat Earth Radio have been demoed or recorded in some form?
If you're going to count, we did also 3 for an upcoming, hopefully, movie track called Devil's Train. So we've done 3 for that, and I've probably done 8 others. With 4 are ready to go. We're just kind of waiting on Drew to finish the mixing and mastering of those, and I'd like to put them all out at once, but we're kind of doing them one at a time at this point.
It's a unique situation to be in where it sounds like it's a real band, but the band is not playing live. Is there eventually a goal of a record release thing, and at least you do a show in Long Beach?
Maybe we'll do it in Virginia. That's where Mark and Drew are, and Trip, the drummer, and we're also playing with a guy named Shannon who plays drums. We've already played together. I played with Mark and Trip in Virginia Beach, Virginia, a year and a half ago.
Oh.
Never practiced with him, just flew out there, jumped on stage, played 5 songs with him. While he was doing a gig with all of his regular stuff that he normally does. I just jumped up and we played a cover of Jet by Paul McCartney and Wings. 3 Strange Days. Sorry about that. I'm outside. You ever heard of School of Fish, the band?
Yeah, that was a Pearl Jam side band.
No, 3 Strange.
That was 3 Red Fish, I think. Okay, School of Fish I've heard of, but tell me more.
They have a song called 3 Strange Days, and the singer sadly died of a brain tumor a few years back. But we played that one live with Mark, and I also play that live with our cover band here in Huntington, Long Beach area.
Wow. Okay. I'm dialing in from Long Beach, New York, the other Long Beach.
Oh, great. And there's surf out there too.
There is surf out here. When a lot of people say, hey, where are you from? Long Beach, they think that I'm from where you are. But didn't you also grow up in Long Beach, like high school and all that?
I did. Grew up in Long Beach, California. Um, High school, a little bit of college there. Lived there till I was, I don't know, 34. Moved over to Huntington.
In terms of Long Beach, California, we now know, hey, Snoop Dogg was from there and Sublime
Yep.
and the Iron Maiden album where he goes Scream for Me, Long Beach, etc. But what made you get out of Long Beach?
A few things. Parking,
Oh, just
uh,
like this Long Beach too, parking.
right? Parking, school districts. Um, I don't know. The houses are smaller there, a little more room. Just things like that. I love Long Beach. It's a really pretty city. Um, but there were some things that we liked better over here, so we moved.
And then Huntington Beach, is that the Surf City, the Jan and Dean song, or is that Manhattan Beach? I confused the two.
Now, Huntington Beach, they call it Surf City. Um, Huntington Beach got in a fight with way up north, not further north than Manhattan. Um, when I'm in these kind of interviews, my brain freezes. So I know the name of the beach, but they want to call themselves Surf City too. It's where Steamer's Lane is. What city is that? Steamer's Lane is a famous surf spot up there. Um, what is it? I'll come back to it. But anyway, yeah, they call Huntington Beach Surf City also.
Got it. So Southern California for life, that's been the case for you?
Yeah.
Very interesting. And I say that because I find that everybody I know who's a musician with LA roots has their period where they say, I'm going to go to New York. And then they get out of New York within 3 years and come back.
I spent a little time in Manhattan. It was cold.
Exactly, exactly. So, hey, bring it back to the musical end of everything. I love your journey in terms of you didn't give up multiple times. I think a lot of people have the one record deal that doesn't go the way that they want it. They give up. They have a second, they give up. Not in your case. You kept going, you're still going, and you're still doing fine, excellent work. But how long was the hiatus between leaving talk show and putting out something through Golden Robot? Was that about 20 years?
For my kids, when they turned right around 18, there's that motorcycle again.
It happens.
Because of less distraction, but I'm actually getting more. I've got the family in the house, so I don't want to bother them, and I don't want them to bother us. But now we've got motorcycles going up and down the street, and it's probably my kids' friends.
So it was a hiatus of about
Yeah,
20 years, 18 years, something like that.
I did some recording and a little bit of writing in that time, but I was doing a lot of soccer coach, surf,
Hmm.
um, like football coaching, doing stuff with my daughters. I have two daughters and a boy, and since they're doing their own thing now, I mean, I've had the time to, hey, I'm gonna grow my freaking right hand back and start playing music again because I love it.
Well, the follow-up to that was, were you doing the cover band the whole time?
No, no, I jumped into that right at the same time. It's really funny. It all kind of started when I went to a funeral, and I probably said this. I might have said this to you or in another interview, but the keyboard player in 10 Inch Men, Jimmy Schumacher, passed away.
Hmm.
Now it's about 6 years ago now, maybe seven. When I went to his funeral, um, I met some other friends that were in the music industry and in bands that were playing at the time. 10 Inch Men was playing, and one of the guys, um, Kevin Bartley, asked me if I was still playing, and I said no. Nah. And he goes, "Dude, why not?" I go, I don't know, it's too old." And he said, "You should start playing again." And he invited me to go see his band. And I went and saw him in Long Beach and had a good time. And I met a guy named Mickey Meckes, who is just a firecracker of a guy. And he goes, "My band's playing 2 weeks from now. Come up and sing a song with us." And I'm going, "Nah, it's past my bedtime." Anyway, I did it. And from there, we started this other cover band together. And we've been together playing covers for 5 years now. Uh,
From the last gig that you did in public to that first cover gig, did you already have the live vocal chops?
The last gig to which gig?
So the first time that you came up with the cover band, could you immediately sing live, or did you feel you'd lost something?
Um, well, we did a few rehearsals before we did a live gig. And yeah,
Oh,
my voice was definitely, it's not so much the vocal cords that were out, it was the breathing. And when do I hold my breath up? Where do I phrase this part? And it came together fairly quickly because I never went on a 3 year long tour where I just destroyed my voice like say Elton John would have, or
hmm.
I don't know how Dave Grohl's doing it. I don't know how he does it. His voice, he can get so gritty and raspy and then come down and sing soft again and then do it raspy again and scream. I don't know how he still can talk, but never had to do that. So I guess it's kind of like parking your car in the garage for 20 years and not driving it. That's what I do with my vocal cords.
I'd read in one of your interviews from the past few years, I think it was the Rolling Stone one, where the two big tours that you wound up on with talk show were sober tours, and you couldn't do your routine of having a shot of tequila and having a beer or two and loosening up that way. Now it
Yeah.
sounds like you're free to do that if you want to do that live.
Yes. And I want to.
And you want to. So
Well,
it's this.
that shot and that one beer just gives you that little edge where you don't really have to think about what someone walks in and they're giving you a funny look or what's that guy wearing? Or you know what I mean? That
Yeah.
and you also get that little get up and go where you want to show off a little bit, And that's what a little bit of tequila will give me. You know, so 5 shots into the night, I don't ever do that. Just a couple of beers and where you're feeling comfortable. And
Right.
I really never did that with the other guys in talk show because yes, Aerosmith was sober and we wanted to respect that on that gig. Second thing was Scott, his problems. I didn't want to show those guys that I was going to turn into him, you know. So, but at the same time, it wasn't very loose or comfortable.
Understood. Well, what one more talk show question, then we're going to focus more on the now and the you. And
Okay,
that's,
good.
well, anytime 25 years have passed for anything, there's always a record company to go, here's the 25th anniversary, here's the 30th edition. Was there ever talk about a reissue of the talk show record?
I'd never heard it if there was. Um, I don't think that Atlantic would see, or even what is their subsidiary label? Uh,
Rhino?
Rhino. Thank you. I don't think they would see enough volume in that project. So why do it?
I assume that they look at every single project with members that have sold millions of copies and they go, well, 5% of people care about this. There you go. Well, in this case, can we sell 2,000 vinyl records to diehards of this? I would think that they could if they really cared.
Yeah, I mean they'd have to push and work a little bit, but whatever.
Sure. So,
Digging
so,
up that stuff anyway. I mean, if they want to do it and give me a little money on the side, yeah, I'll take it.
so
But
when it comes to money on the side, the Rolling Stone article also talked about how you were open to writing for films or sync placements, that kind of a thing. Uh, Asking about that at the same time, a lot of times when somebody's in a major label band, the tribute albums start calling, where they go, just come in, sing this Judas Priest song for 2 hours, and here's a couple of grand. Were you ever almost in the tribute album world or circle?
you mean if someone wanted me to come in and sing someone else's song? Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, there was a lot of low budget
Oh,
all-star band tribute albums that you'd see in Walmart in the discount bins, where it's like featuring members of Kansas and Motley Crue and Judas Priest, those kinds of things.
no, I've never done that, and I was kind of asked to do something like that about a year ago to basically copy somebody else's recording and put it out as my own. And I said, no, I'm not going to do that. I mean, you got his for one. You can use
Hmm.
it. You're trying to save money, but it was all like kind of keyboard emo stuff, and the person who asked me said, I want you to do a grunge song for me, and here's what I wanted to sound like, and it was not grunge. Well, that ain't grunge. If you want some grunge, dig some of this stuff up on one of my older albums. You can have any of them, you know. But it was a keyboardy song, which not downing keyboards. I love them, but something I don't do anyway. So I couldn't do that one. But we are working on this movie soundtrack stuff for a movie that's hopefully coming out this year or next.
Is that under the Flat Earth Radio banner?
Yes, yes.
And is that the kind of thing where they said, here's the scene and the vibe we want? Or did they just go, hey, we trust your judgment, carte blanche, there you go?
We're working directly with the screenwriter, and
Mhm.
he's got all these ideas, and he throws me like 2 pages worth of, I'm not going to call them lyrics, I'm going to call them poems, because they're not phrased. There's no periods, there's no rhymes. There's some, maybe a rhyme here and there, and he wants me to make a song out of it. And he wants, okay, make this one sound like Aerosmith and somebody from the 50s, and put it all together kind of in a Western vibe. Okay. Anyway, at first I didn't think I'd be able to do it, but we've done 3 now for him, and
Mhm.
they're coming out pretty good.
So what I've heard so far in terms of influences, if you're talking about School of Fish, yet Aerosmith, etc., it sounds like you're a man of 1,000 voices, and we didn't pick up on that earlier.
Oh, heck, singing wise, no. I don't think I'm a man of 1,000 voices. But I do love all of those bands. I can't do any Steven Tyler stuff. That guy's a test tube rock star. Um, but I guess I can sound like John Lennon at times, or I've heard Freddie Mercury in his low register or medium register, not the high one. That's just the tonal sound of my voice, though. It's not really that I'm this great athletic vocalist. It's just the way my voice sounds. I mean, when I talk, I don't sound like, sometimes people, when I answer the phone, they think I'm a girl because my not like for a guy.
Not my words, your words. But when you say Steven Tyler, if you think about a song like Dream On, it's his real singing voice, the first half of it. And
Right.
then you
Yeah.
hear the made up Steven Tyler voice, which he's been doing for decades, which is not his real singing voice.
What
There's
do
a
you
number of
made up?
vocalists, totally made up singing voice.
What
And
do you
you're
got?
okay. The I can't do a Steven Tyler impression, but the whole dow kind of stuff is made up. And when you think about the chest voice versus the head voice versus the real proper singing from your stomach kind of stuff, he has at least 3 of those different
Oh yeah.
possibilities.
Yeah. So he can do real good falsetto, and there's this thing that he does. Um, I think he does it through his nose, but it gets way up there. You hear people like Mick Jagger can do that kind of stuff too, like Emotional Rescue, the way he sings on that song. That's using your upper, um, your forehead and your nose, pushing it through there instead of through here, through your torso.
You know this better than me, but how does David Lee Roth do the whistle yow thing with it while having a blown out voice? He always is perfect with doing that screech howl thing every other note.
I don't know. It's just something he was born with, and it was a gift to him, and it's cool as hell.
So you don't have that kind of a vocal trademark, but at least you still have your full range. So so there's the compliment with all that. So going back, there's the soundtrack stuff. There's, 8 or so tracks with Flat Earth Radio. There's the possibility solo stuff. There's the cover band stuff. That's a lot of activity on the musical end while holding down the family life and the work life.
Yeah, it keeps me out of trouble.
It keeps you out of trouble. So for the years that you weren't doing music, what was the main interest or passion or creative outlet?
When I was wasting a lot of money on surfboards, I was surfing a lot. Um, Basically staying young by doing that, staying in shape, and just kids, you know. One of my kids was born with spina bifida. Had a lot of hospital visits with her, um, operations. Another one has some other things going on. So I mean, I was just busy. My wife very busy because I had to go to work a lot. But I spent a lot of time in hospitals,
Mm.
the ocean, coaching, that kind of stuff, and just making sure everything was paid at the end of the month. So there wasn't a lot of time for creativity, a lot. And there was time for getting exercise and paying bills and taking care of your kids.
Hmm. That's just a little bit respectable and a little bit relatable, I would say.
Most guys can relate to that.
So, was it ever a struggle to talk to everyday civilians, knowing that you'd had the two record deals and been around the block, and people are making small talk and go, "So, what do you do?"
Yeah, that's one of the things I would never mention. And wave the little rock and roll flag. I couldn't do it because, for one, they wouldn't believe you, especially before the internet. Before like talk show was pre-internet.
Yeah.
Uh, so I got back into the industry that I was working in fairly quickly after talk show was over, and I had to go on a couple of trips out of town to meet with other guys in the industry and get together and learn about product stuff that we had to try to sell or push. And they have these like get together dinners it's a whole week long seminar thing you're at. And they'd want you to talk about yourself. And I think, well, should I tell them this is what I did? Nah, they'll all laugh at me. So I would just not talk about it.
Hmm. I that reminds me in a way of in knowing a lot of people who had record deals in the mid to late 90s in LA, it seems like they were all telemarketers. Then they got the record deal, they got dropped, and then they were telemarketers again. So they had to go back to that job, and it happens.
Some people that I know would rather starve and lose their family because they don't want to go make some money and make their house payment because they're an artist. I couldn't do that. Couldn't do that.
But in talking with you now, previously, reading your interviews, it sounds like there's no regrets. It sounds like there's nothing to prove, and you're just creating for creativity's sake.
Yeah, that's exactly right. I'm just doing it because I love it. And I am, of course, when you put something out and you finish it, you want to get as much people to hear it as you can just because you're proud of it and you want to see what it might do. But before all that happens, it's you by yourself. I sit out here a lot and play guitar, and I'll strum that thing for an hour and a half before hey, that sounds kind of good.
Hmm.
Putting something together, and oh, that sounds good. Maybe go here. And I do it with my ear. I don't know a lot of chord names or anything, you
Oh,
know,
really?
basic chords, but I'll just figure stuff out on my own and then try to put it together into a song. And I love doing that. So I'll probably never quit.
So it's kind of the opposite, and I think this gentleman is very, very talented, but it's kind of like the opposite of, say, John Corabi, who had to come into that situation where he's the replacement, he gets falsely blamed when he did nothing wrong. The true fans go, that is the best album that those people did. And then you go, okay, so what's the next step here? What do I do right here? And in turn, he kind of has to play that Motley album over and over and over again, even though he knows that that's not the best thing that he's capable of doing. In your case, if we're going to see you live, do you do any gigs or do you have any plans to do like a Dave solo band kind of show?
Oh, I would if I felt like it would be profitable for the guys that I would drag along with me to do it. You know what I mean? Hey, I'm gonna do a solo thing, guys. Will you come play with me? I'll pay you $20. You know what I mean? It's got to be worth it for everybody for me to do something like that because I can't do it on my own. I'm not gonna go sit with an acoustic and a microphone. I won't do that. Too scary. But
Really? Wow.
yeah, I just don't think I could do that. Mark Dunn has asked me to do it with him, and I would probably do it with him. That'd be fun. But just to go like coffee bar it, no.
Coffee bar. So if you were to do a solo gig, would you do songs from your old bands, or would the emphasis just be on the stuff that you're most proud of from the past few years?
Oh no, I would do anything and everything. I would do stuff from 10-inch Men. I would do stuff from Talk Show. I would do stuff from Dave Coutts. I would do stuff from Flat Earth. Whatever, whatever is gonna work, you know. Whatever's gonna sound good.
Uh, I figured out a weird tie-in between 10-inch Men and Van Halen, by the way, is that I'm trying to figure it out if it's the exact tour or the one after. But you know how unfortunately you didn't do the European tour with Bon Jovi in,
Right.
was it 93 or 95?
That was 93.
Okay, then I have it wrong. Van Halen did the 95 Bon Jovi European tour. So I was trying to figure out the mystery of did you turn it down and then Van Halen got it? But that is not the case.
Oh, I don't. Yeah, we were just gonna open for Bon Jovi. It was gonna be a few soccer stadiums in Europe just for us one summer, and that was at the same time our record was coming out with 10-inch Men.
Yes.
And the record company said, no, we can't afford that. So that's when I quit.
Right.
Then a year later, SGP called.
Yes.
Yeah.
And
Wow.
hence this conversation, hence one of your current bandmates finding you after that meet and greet in 97. So it's one of those things where, for better and for worse, 25 to 30 years later, people still care about that era.
Yeah. Yeah. And people still care about music and care about getting up there and having fun.
Exactly. So where are some of the places that you play with your cover band? And what is the cover band called? Are we allowed to know that?
Yeah, it's called the Long Beach Leftovers.
Leftovers.
I wanted to call it something else, but somebody said, oh, no, that might sound racist. So, like, I don't really, yeah, whatever. I don't worry too much about that kind of stuff. But we settled on the Long Beach Leftovers. We're all from Long Beach, and we've played in Vegas a few times with
Oh,
for a couple of benefits for my cousin Joe, who is doing stuff to benefit kids that get addicted to drugs, and he's been doing real well with that. So he's invited us out there a couple of times. We play here in Long Beach and Seal Beach and bars and the Sunset Beach Art Festival. We've played that 4 years. We're going to play that again this year. That's the Sunset Beach, which is right here in between Huntington and Seal Beach.
and I assume those are weekends generally, so weekend warrior stuff.
They're fun, and you do the bars or the sports bar thing and that kind of stuff. Nothing huge, but it's all fun.
Would I or anyone potentially watching or listening know anyone else in the Long Beach Leftovers?
Um, I doubt it. I doubt it. I mean, we got guys from, well, Kevin Bartley is one of the guys, but he hasn't been in it for a while. He's been busy doing other things. He was in a band called 60th Parallel. Mark and Mickey, their brothers, the Mekas brothers, they were in bands in Long Beach back 25 years, 30 years ago. Mark's a dentist now. He was in a couple of bands. Mickey was in a band called Secret Goldfish. But no, then the drummer, Norm, and the keyboard player, Vince, those guys are real busy musicians. Norm has, he tours with Belinda Carlisle from the Go-Go. She goes out, Norm is her drummer. So he does that, but I don't know if you would know his name. But
Oh, I read up on my sidemen. Generally, the sidemen are more interesting than the artists out front. That's my experience.
well, for sure.
And last creative question. Was there ever a thought of doing a podcast for yourself where you're hosting it and you talk to other creatives about their journeys?
No, I've never really thought about that. Not really. I'm not the best talker. I'd rather think about it and write it down, and then instead of doing it live. But
Hence
yeah,
being a lyricist?
that you think I should get into that, huh?
I think that there's always more to the story. Hear me out right here. A lot of people are used to Wikipedia as their informational news source. So whatever's on Wikipedia usually flows into AI, and that's kind of the documented history. But in a lot of cases, we know that history has many sides to the story, and it wasn't always documented because people just rely again on the Wikipedia, the bio that the record company put out, etc. So somebody like you, this journeyman that has decades of experience and saw everything and went to all these places, might have an untold story and therefore know other people in a similar boat. That's where I was
Well, I have
going.
a lot of stories that are untold. You know, the stuff I'm telling you, I would tell anybody online.
Got it. So earlier you mentioned Freddie Mercury and Queen being a big influence on you, but who were the bands that made you want to start playing guitar in the first place?
Well, when I was 10, I got a Creedence Clearwater record. I mean, I liked everything when I was a kid. I liked the Jackson Five. I liked Creedence Clearwater. I liked who else? Like Grassroots
Mm.
for them. Great vocalists. I mean, at Three Dog Night, of course, the Beatles, um, and then Led Zeppelin. But I started playing guitar before I really heard about Zeppelin. I think I was 8 when I joined this little group thing where there's 10 people and they're all trying to play Bob Dylan, Where Have All the Flowers Gone? And I'm trying to hit that G chord right. And then, but you know, there was a couple of twins that lived down the street from me, identical twins. And these guys had to come home from school and play their piano an hour each every day after school. And their moms, she's there with a stick ready to beat them if they didn't. You know, she was very strict. Their dad was a doctor, and they were like robots. And they were both identical twins. You could not tell them apart. Edward and Robert Keating. Amazing on the piano for their age. Super good. But they started smoking weed and rebelling at about, I'd say, 9th grade. And they would come over. I'd go to their house and sit in their bedroom and listen to them playing Black Sabbath. And oh my God, you know, and they kind of woke me up a little bit.
It sounds like you keep winding up in bands with brothers in them.
I kind of do.
The cover band, talk show, this early one.
And a
No
lot,
brothers in 10-inch men, correct?
yeah. And 4 out of 5 of the bands I've been in have had a guy named Mark in them.
Mark's brothers and Mark, brother Mark. I don't know. Maybe there's something there, but those are the bands that made you want to start. And then when did you kind of realize that you were more of a singer than a guitar player?
Yeah, that's uh, probably when I was about 21, 22. I wouldn't say I was thinking I was more of a singer. I was just thinking, well, I can sing this one better than you to my lead singer, so I'm going to sing this one, you know. But then after he left, we got a keyboarder who sang half the songs. Then he stopped singing, and it was me all alone. That would probably be right around the time we recorded Flower Power with 10-inch Men. I started singing all the songs, and it just went from there.
It sounds like a Deep Purple situation where you have the bassist can sing and then the singer can sing. And at a certain point, you go, nope, we just want one singer.
Well, you know, it can work out either way, but the keyboard player quit after I started singing all the songs. Maybe that was the reason. But so there was no other singer after that, you know, and I had to do it all. I mean, not all of it, but I had to sing all the songs, obviously.
Okay.
Yeah. So I spent more time doing that and playing chords instead of trying to worry about other chord voicings and soloing and stuff like that, because we had another guy playing guitar. And
And stage presence.
yeah, you know, you got to think about other things when you start singing. You do. What am I going to say in between songs? How am I going to move? Am I going to look like an idiot? You know.
Well, my last question for you before we wait for Mark to join us is, do we know what the next new music that we're going to hear from you? Because right now from Flat Earth Radio, there's only one single on Spotify and the other DSPs.
We're going to have Hopium coming out. Should have been out already. We're just waiting for it to be mastered. You have a copy of that. That is the next one. Then there's 2 other songs right after that. One's called Soul Stealer, and that's a rockier song. And the other one is called Jane. And those 2 are done. They just need to be mixed. And then we have 5 more in the pipeline. So we have an album's worth of stuff, easy, plus the 3 songs that we have written for this movie. So there's a lot to do and a lot to come out. Yeah, we're just we're waiting on Drew. Drew's our producer boy, and he's busy. So.
And will any of those songs have 2-word titles, or are they all 1-word titles in this band?
Soul Stealer is 2 words.
Oh, it's not hyphened. My bad.
Oh, no worries. Jane, we could do her last name, but I just might use that as a symbol instead. You know, her last name is Rose. So it might just be Jane and then a picture of a rose. Anyway, you know what? One of my favorite album covers of all time was Yellow Brick Road.
Mm-hmm.
All the song titles had different little fonts and symbols, and I just thought it was so cool to look at. I kind of want to do something like that with this.
Paltrocast.